It's Friday on the Beat, and you know what that means. It's time to fall back. I'm joined today by Jeru the Damager, a rapper known for his collaborations with DJ Premier, including the critically acclaimed debut album, The Sun Rises in the East. Jeru's top singles have drawn over 10 million streams on Spotify. He's currently producing the YouTube series The Hip Hop Road Show. Jeru lives in Berlin now and uses the series to look at geography and history around the world. We're also joined by Daily Beast editor-in-chief Noah Shackman. He oversees coverage of the Mueller probe, the Trump administration, and a lot of other international news. He's also worked or written for Foreign Policy Magazine and Wired Magazine. Great to have you both here.
Great to be here.
Jeru, who needs to fall back?
Okay, a lot of people need to fall back, but I'm going to say Aunt Becky.
Oof.
You know, Lori Loughlin, she needs to fall back because this whole college admissions scandal thing, not only is it illegal, not only is it cheating, but it reinforces the idea that the wealthy don't have to play by the same rules that everybody else plays by. And then not only that, I'm concerned with the impact that it's going to have on the children. Because, and I'm not talking about being embarrassed, because that's going to happen in life, right? And I'm not talking about the attention, because we live in a culture where attention is the new currency. But what I'm talking about is the self-esteem, because they actually told their children they're not good enough, right? They told them they're not able to compete. Because if they have faith in them that they can compete, and it's not their egos that I'm worried about, it's about, that's the future. So you have a bunch of rich kids with low self-esteem, a hyperinflated sense of entitlement. What is the world going to be?
But are you worried about the rich kids? I mean, I'm worried about the kids that didn't get in, that the rich kids took their spot.
No, this is what I'm saying. I'm not worried about the rich kids. I'm saying, what kind of world is it going to be with those kind of kids running it?
You're saying this is symptomatic of a wider culture. You got the kids who are directly in this controversy, and then they are a statistical sample of a whole bunch of other kids, some wealthy, some want to be wealthy, some striving. But the idea that it's not good enough to go to the college you could just get into or get the job you could just normally get.
Now, I went to Georgetown, and that's the site of one of these cheating scandals. And I have a message for the one person that can end this at Georgetown. Patrick Ewing, it is up to you, man. You need to address this full on. And if you address this full on, Georgetown administration will listen like they will listen to nobody else.
Now, Noah, how much did it cost you to buy your seat at Georgetown?
Good question. Excellent question. $1 million.
Who else is on your list to fall back?
Oh, on my list to fall back. You guys know about Goop?
Sure.
Goop is
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, is the Gwyneth Paltrow pseudoscience, conspiracy peddling, steam your genitals operation. Well, she was at South by Southwest the other day, and she was asked, hey, why are you peddling all this nonsense? And her response was, oh, I thought it was a blog. I didn't realize I had to give accurate information. Which is like, I'm sorry, yeah, as a journalist, I'm going to be particularly angry about that message, but come on, to anybody, I didn't know I had to put out accurate information, so I put out some nonsense. It's just crazy.
Also, Jeru, also, Goop is just annoying.
But what I want to know is, what is Goop really about?
It's really
Goop's about selling really fancy stuff to people who have spare time and money.
You know, in a way, it's kind of the same thing.
So that's what I'm ready to say. You worried about the rich? You worried about the rich kids?
Well, Jeru, what you're talking about is trying to sell people self-esteem, value, status, and they're trying to buy that.
It's all the same thing. And you know, I actually should retract the statement that I made earlier, because that's the world we live in today, right? A bunch of spoiled rich kids with a hyperinflated sense of entitlement who buy their way into things and they run the world. It's life, but I think we can make it better.
My fallback for the week could also be for the decade or the century.
Okay.
Wow, the fallback of the century, huh?
The mother of all fallbacks, in honor of our guests. All that big gun talk needs to fall back. I'm quoting you, Jeru, because back in the 90s, when gangster rap was popular, you were saying in music and in our culture, and obviously in our policies, the obsession with guns is a problem.
It is a problem, and I think, you know, it's only a problem, put it this way, it's only a problem when it's in certain hands. You understand what I'm saying? That's how they make it. The NRA and all these other organizations, they don't want me to have guns, but they want to have guns. And I know it's supposed to be one of your amendment rights or whatever. I don't know which one because I'm not into that type of stuff, right? To bear arms and all that. A bunch of people with guns are going to want to use them.
Right.
And that's the scary part about it, because, and then not only that, but look at the people who have guns and the things that they're talking about. It's racist rhetoric, it's anti-government, but I think it's just dangerous individuals and who want to play by their own rules. I think everything we're talking about is that, people who want to play by their own rules.
Well, we wanted to get that in, especially because people have these ideas about hip-hop or music. You were someone pushing up against that at the time, and
Right.
I'm a big fan, so I appreciate you coming on.
Man, thank you for having me.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.